2,000 years ago, the world was far less forgiving. In the thick mists of an African jungle, the first humans moved with caution. Their bare feet pressed softly into the damp earth, leaving traces beside the enormous footprints of beasts that ruled long before them. The cries of unseen birds echoed from above, and every rustle in the underbrush made hearts beat faster. Survival was not a choice, it was a daily demand. One wrong step meant becoming prey instead of predator. 2,000 years ago, hunting was not for sport, it was for life. The hunters crouched low in the golden grasses, their breath steady, their hands tight around sharpened wooden spears. Before them, an antelope grazed, unaware of the danger hidden only a few steps away. The men exchanged silent glances, knowing that tonight's meal depended on perfect timing. In their eyes burned a fire older than language itself, the hunger of survival. 2,000 years ago, darkness was never empty. The fire crackled, throwing sparks into the night sky as the small tribe gathered around it, sharing what little meat they had. But beyond the light, two glowing eyes watched with hunger of their own. A leopard slinked closer, its muscles rippling beneath its spotted fur, each step silent, deadly. For the humans, the night was not a time of rest, it was a battlefield, where predator and prey often changed places without warning. 2,000 years ago, even water betrayed. A woman knelt by the river, cupping cool water into her dry mouth, her child beside her. They did not see the silent predator beneath the surface. Yellow eyes rose just above the rippling current, the crocodile waited, patient and eternal. For humans then, every drink, every meal, every moment was a gamble between nourishment and death. 2,000 years ago, the sky itself carried omens. While the tribe bent low to gather seeds and roots, circling vultures marked the presence of death. Their sharp eyes followed the land, searching for weakness, waiting for leftovers from predators more powerful than themselves. On the horizon, lions marched across the plain, kings of the hunt. The humans knew their place here, scavengers of opportunity, forever careful not to draw the wrath of beasts stronger than them. 2,000 years ago, even childhood was a test of courage. Laughter echoed among the trees as children chased each other through the brush. But danger never played. A serpent slithered silently, its scales glistening like wet stone, its tongue tasting the air. Instinct took over, one child gripped a rock, ready to defend. In those days, courage was not taught. It was born, sharpened by fear, and demanded by the wilderness itself. 2,000 years ago, hunger often drove men into the night. With torches blazing, hunters sprinted through tangled roots and shadowed trees, their breath ragged, their hearts pounding like drums. Ahead, the wild boar crashed through the undergrowth, desperate to escape. The night air carried the clash of survival, a symphony of fire, sweat, and fear. Victory meant food. Failure meant starvation. 2,000 years ago, storms were more than weather, they were living gods. Thunder split the sky, rain fell in punishing sheets, and the tribe ran, their feet sinking in mud. In the safety of a cave, they huddled together, listening to the growl of the heavens. On the walls, ancient drawings of hunts and beasts told stories older than memory. For these first humans, every storm was both a curse and a reminder. Nature ruled, and man only borrowed its land. 2,000 years ago, courage had no choice but to walk hand in hand with fear. Alone in the forest, a man froze as the brush parted. The lion emerged, golden mane flowing like fire in the wind, eyes piercing, unblinking. In that instant, man and beast shared the same silence, the same heartbeat, the same law of survival. Sometimes, the only weapon a man had was stillness, praying the predator chose another path. 2,000 years ago, every sunrise was a victory. As the golden light spilled across the horizon, the tribe stirred with hope. Children's laughter returned, women coaxed fire from glowing embers, and men sharpened their spears for the day ahead. Survival was not guaranteed, but with each dawn, humanity grew stronger, wiser, and more determined. This was not just existence, it was the birth of resilience, the story of how humankind carved its place in a world that wanted them gone. 2,000 years ago, hunger gnawed at bones like fire. For days, the tribe had found nothing, their ribs showing beneath thin skin, their eyes sunken with desperation. Then, hope darted before them, a rabbit, swift and elusive. With only stones and sticks, they lunged, their hearts pounding with the rhythm of survival. In this world, even the smallest meal could mean the difference between life and death. 2,000 years ago, danger came from the sky as well. A child's laughter echoed while reaching for fruit, but shadows darkened above. A giant eagle dove, its wings slicing the air, talons outstretched with terrifying precision. In that frozen moment, the thin line between innocence and tragedy balanced on whether the tribe acted quickly enough to protect their young. 2,000 years ago, humans were not only hunted by beasts, but by each other. Hunger bred conflict. Two tribes met, their eyes hard, their weapons crude yet deadly. Stone axes gleamed under the sun, bows drawn tight. The air was thick with fear, pride, and desperation. In a land of scarce resources, survival sometimes meant turning against those who looked most like you. 2,000 years ago, fire was both shield and sword. Flames leapt high beside an ancient tree, and predators halted at its edge. Hyenas prowled, their eyes glinting, but dared not cross. The humans stood taller, the warmth of fire giving them strength beyond muscle. In the wild, where tooth and claw reigned, fire became mankind's first true weapon, the light that pushed back the dark. 2,000 years ago, the waters held secrets darker than the forests. A man dove deep, searching for fish to feed his family. But from the shadows below, a serpent stirred, its body thick, its scales glimmering like armor. It surged upward, jaws wide. For humans then, even the act of feeding their children demanded a dance with death beneath the surface of the earth. 2,000 years ago, the forests were ruled by giants. A massive bear rose on hind legs, towering above the trembling humans. Its roar shook the trees, a raw warning that this land was not theirs to take. Spears trembled in human hands, but courage was fragile in the shadow of such power. Sometimes, survival meant knowing when to fight, and when to run. 2,000 years ago, victory often bred new danger. The hunters carried precious meat upon their shoulders, but behind them came the hungry chorus, jackals, dozens of them, their howls piercing the night. Glowing eyes stalked closer with each step. In this endless cycle, humans were both hunters and hunted, chased by the very hunger that drove them to kill. 2,000 years ago, even the forest itself betrayed them. Winds roared like invisible beasts, tearing branches from their homes. A tree cracked, its ancient trunk falling with thunderous force. The tribe scattered, one man leaping aside at the last heartbeat. Nature showed no mercy, it could crush as easily as it could feed. 2,000 years ago, even plants demanded blood. Thorny bushes tore at human skin as desperate hands reached deeper for bitter fruits. Blood dripped, but hunger drove them on. The wilderness gave nothing freely, it asked for sacrifice, for pain, for courage. Every mouthful was earned with wounds carved into flesh. 2,000 years ago, the earth itself was their weapon. The hunter's trap snapped shut, capturing a wild goat. The animal screamed, its hoofs striking, dust rising in frantic clouds. The hunters shouted in triumph and fear, for they knew a trapped beast was still dangerous. Survival was measured not only in victories, but in scars left behind. 2,000 years ago, every trail told a story. Blood drops painted the earth, broken branches whispered of struggle. The tribe followed, their senses sharpened, their nerves tight. Somewhere ahead, predators feasted. Would they arrive as thieves of flesh, or as the next course of the meal? The answer lay in every step forward. 2,000 years ago, the land itself moved with life. Across endless plains, herds of massive beasts thundered in migration, their hooves shaking the ground like drums. The humans stood in awe, both terrified and tempted. Such herds could feed a village for weeks, but they also carried danger with every stampede. Survival was a delicate balance, chasing opportunity without being crushed beneath it. 2,000 years ago, cold nights drew sharp teeth. Snow blanketed the ground, freezing bare feet and stiffening tired hands. Around a fragile fire, the tribe shivered, but warmth meant little when eyes glowed from the dark. Wolves circled, their howls rising like a song of hunger. The fire crackled bravely, but the night pressed closer. For man, the fire was hope. For wolves, it was nothing but delay. 2,000 years ago, silence was the loudest warning. Birds stopped. Insects hushed. The forest held its breath. The tribe froze, spears trembling in their hands. Then, from the mist, a colossal predator appeared, its shadow swallowing the earth. Fear wrapped around them tighter than any chain. In that silence, every human knew, they were trespassers in a kingdom not their own. 2,000 years ago, survival was victory enough. The tribe gathered around the fire, their bodies weary, their wounds stinging, but their hearts still beating. Above them stretched the endless sky, stars burning like silent witnesses. They had fought beasts, storms, hunger, and fear, and they had lived another day. In those flames, humankind's story was written, fragile, yet unbroken, daring to endure in a world that never wanted them to exist.